Hey, what's up, everyone? My name's Lionel. I'm your host for LT Productions, and you are watching I Watch You Watch. We are covering Sistas on PET. This is season 9, episode 15, I believe. I appreciate everyone for coming to my channel. Please like this video. You can also subscribe if you are new, and you can leave your comments below. Now let's get into this episode. Okay, y'all, so we finally start off an episode without Sabrina being the lead. Something different, you know. So we start off where we left off in last week's episode with Andy and Dr. Vaughn, whom we find out that his name, at least I don't remember him ever saying his full name, Dr. Reginald Vaughn. So Andy's mammy, and the reason I say that because she becomes trifling before the end of this episode. I said, Lord Jesus, comes in there barging in, da 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 da. She wants to know why haven't Andy been reaching her, and now she wants to be intrusive to find out who this man is. And I'm Dr. Reginald Vaughn. You can call me Reginald, Reggie. She said, no, you've earned the title of doctor, so I'm going to call you Doctor. Da 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 da. Reggie. Nah, I'll probably change his name again. He leaves, and then now the mama and Andy really have it out. You can tell they go. You can tell that there's potential of Andy and her mama really going low with each other because of how her mama act is very disrespectful. She was like, oh, so you with another man? How come you didn't tell me about your wedding to Gary? It didn't even happen. Da, 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 da. You was married, you was with the politician. What happened and all that? How come I had to hear all this stuff at the church, even about you being kidnapped and all that? And she's like, how do you know that? Word gets around. Da, 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 da. No, you just stay up in her life somehow. I don't know how, but it's interesting that we're just now meeting her mama. I forgot what her name is. But anyways. But I could have sworn Andy said something in like season 7 about her mom and saying that they don't have a good relationship, they don't talk, da 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 da. She's being, as Andy called her, more dramatic, saying that we talk to each other every Friday. And she's like, no, we talk maybe 3 or 4 times, and that's like between 3 to 4 months or something like that. But whatever. She starts talking about work and how come this isn't being done, da da da. Don't you have an assistant? And she's like, Fatima, she said, I have a paralegal. Same thing. Well, she should be doing this and da 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 da. It's like Andy is actually telling her true feelings to her mom, even though her mom's kind of pushing it out of her. And you're saying like, dang. So obviously, and I think Andy's mom brought it up that y'all can't be friends and co-workers, and she can't do all that at the same time. You're gonna have to choose. You're gonna have to give her more work to do. Because she's like, well, isn't she doing your work for you or helping you out? She's like, yeah, she is. She's doing one thing and doing something on her own. And she said, that's not good. And you need to handle that. She wanted Andy to take her to the airport. I think she was going on a trip or whatever. And Andy's like, I'm pretty busy. Well, you can't be that busy because you're talking about going on a coffee date with this doctor right here, da 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 da. And she said, I am busy. I will get the company's car service to take you where you need to go. And the mama ended up saying that that's what she'll do. Andy goes about her business, and then she runs her tail on over to Fatima. But I'm gonna pause right there, and we're gonna get to some other stories. Somehow we end up back in the airport parking lot, and Danny and that officer from a couple of episodes ago is trying to mac on Danny. He wants that phone number. Danny's not really up to really give it up, but he said, you know, I'm patient. He don't even care that Danny got a man. Like, you ain't married. I said, Lord, the relationships now, the people, if we're respecting relationships now, because you're not married, that means that you're still single. I mean, when you check the boxes, yeah, but at the same time, you know, you go to a man every night and doing the things that you do in a relationship. So dude was persistent, and I think he ended up giving her the telephone, the call, her phone number. I said, Lord. Now, it would be one thing if Danny and Tony were kind of just in that dating mode, not committed to each other, if you know what I mean. That she's still getting numbers and all that, but I get what's going on. Danny does not respect Tony anymore. She thinks he's a bum. She's lost that security. She lost that masculinity that she's looking for in a man. She's looking for somebody stable, secure, but now you got all this stuff going on. You've inflicted your children on me all of a sudden, and then We're gonna stay on Danny for a minute. You inflicted your ex-wife on me that I told you that she wanted you, and then finally I tell you something, and now you done shipped him off someplace else. Danny goes home, and of course Tony's being Tony. Danny tells him about, my hours have been cut a little bit, and I guess because of my payout. And Tony was like, no, I don't think that's really it. She was like, don't really patronize me, blah, blah, blah. They talk about Danny's birthday and what they want to do to celebrate it. He talks about having his children come. Not for the birthday, but just going to be there for whatever reason. I forgot what he said it was. And have them just stay at her house. And she said, as I would say, I know you was effing lying right now. They ain't staying here. You can go get a hotel and have them up in there. Why would they be up in here? The last time they were stealing. So why would she really want those kids there? Yes, those are there, but they need to develop a relationship. And then let them, I guess, come spend the night or whatever. Stop that, Tony. You come up with stuff and just spring it and just act like people gotta just do it. Like, you don't think any of this, you don't consider anyone when you start making decisions for your household. And I don't think that's fair. Like, I've been on your side for a little bit during this whole got fired and you want to do your own thing right now. But even in past stuff that you had going on, you've been quite ridiculous and unreasonable and crazy as to even want to bring some of this stuff and just load it out on Danny. Now, I need to understand why Danny has not had one therapy session this season, because I know she's got some things to get off her chest. Anyways, something else happened. She found some like lube and stuff, and she's like, what, you watching porn and stuff? Tony confesses that he's got a lot of friction down there. And he noticed the last time that they were having sex that she wasn't as lucrative down there. Well, I don't know if that is that a word. She wasn't wet. I'll just say it. And she was like, wait a minute. I know I got WAP. There must be something wrong with you. If you really look at it, and I don't know everything about a woman, but things that I've heard, and Danny's not turned on by you, Tony. She thinks you're a bum. At this point, y'all have had great sex over the years. She's losing respect for you. And although you're trying to find your way, I'd make other arrangements with my life. If you want to still be with Danny. She's losing respect for you. Now she's getting numbers from another guy that's pursuing and actually has a job and da-da-da-da-da. I think that you need to do something else. I don't even know if moving in with her, probably moving with her is probably the worst thing that you could have done without a job and all that stuff. The optics is already going to look bad. Yeah, she's not turned on by you. So even though she said that she got WAP, she ain't got WAP for you. That's what it's looking like. All right, on to Sabrina. Sabrina's looking all coupled up. I said, oh, now you cuddling with Aaron and all that stuff? She calls Pam just to see what's going on at the hair salon. And she said, well, everything's good, but these customers are mean. And she's like, what do you mean? Well, they're waiting on you for your return, and all they want to do is book appointments for you. And Sabrina says, I have some, not Sabrina, Karen, sorry. Karen says, well, I have something I want to speak with you, but we'll meet up and we'll talk about it, because Karen's gone from this business, at least for now. They did not know where they wanted to live. They were talking about Houston. That's the next move. First, of course, in the 90s and into the 2000s, it was about moving to Black Atlanta. Then people start going to DC. Now both Atlanta people and DC folk are moving to Houston or Dallas, in that area. They're moving to Texas, But yeah, so Mama Lisa comes over and Karen tells her about they're going to be moving and all that. She had her concerns, but she supported Karen in what she wanted to do. And then she said, I think I'm just going to leave right now and so I can gather my thoughts and process things. But I thought you wanted to see your granddaughter. I don't understand that. So Karen has called a Sistas meeting. And we'll get into that in a few minutes. Now, let's go on over to Fatima and Zach and all that stuff they got going on. At the job, Hayden and Fatima have it out. It's more Hayden's like, look, I thought we was partners in this whole thing and you done got rid of Ches and all that. He said, look. She said, look, he's a liability and we got to get rid of him. He said, well, we're supposed to work that out together. Well, he only really wanted to be there for Fatima. He guessed what Chaz was like. He wanted to hit and you didn't let him do it. No. So Fatima says, since we are partners, why don't we tap into the female sports and getting them what they need in legal representation and da-da-da-da-da-da-da. This is kind of going into the realm that we're seeing on Zatima. If you watch the latest season of Zatima, when Fatima was approached to be a part of entertainment law and representing that artist. So possibly this is where Fatima's going to feel most comfortable with. So Hayden has to get used to that idea. I don't think that he said yes, yay or nay, but that might be an untapped place that could really be, it could be a lucrative business. Here I go saying lucrative, but at least I'm saying it in the right way now. Let me see. Somehow, Zach and Fatima meet up. I thought Fatima went home, but I can't even remember right now. But anyways, Zach is very happy-go-lucky, calling her Spider-Man and all that stuff, because they're in a good place. I think she went home, but then later on, she's back at the office. So I'm a little bit confused. But anyway, Zach tells her about getting $100,000 into his bank account. And she's like, well, where did it come from? Are you sure that this is right? Da-da-da-da-da. He said he's trying to figure out where that's at. So we're happy. Are you like, what's going on here? And then he goes on and tells her about Mr. Keys being his dad's best friend. Dad's best friend. Well, how you feel about that? Like, I don't know. It's looking pretty scamish, and it's looking that both things are pretty scamish. And as far as whatever this money is coming from, and now this dude shows up. Do y'all think Mr. Keys is Zach's father? That's what I'm really going for, even though he's saying all this stuff. Maybe he didn't know. Maybe he did sleep with Gladys back in the day. I don't know. Folks, it's tricky out here. But I think both things are just kind of scamish, and I hope that that's not the case, because Zach doesn't need anything else. He already said it's one thing after another, and he's got to keep on fighting it and all that good stuff. So, but yeah. He just said, I might as well just have dinner with him and just feel it out as far as whatever this connection is. Fatima agreed. I'm going to stop right there and we're going to go over to Sabrina. Paige and Maurice. Paige is feeling some type of way seeing Maurice and Dylan get close. And she's just not having it. I don't understand. Because he's dated before. I don't know if you don't like it because it's one of your friends that he's getting attached to. Anyways, they kind of have their little spar. It's kind of funny. And now Paige is finally getting quick with her reads. I said, go ahead, Paige. Give it to him. But you're in the wrong. Let your brother do what he needs to do. And let your friend do what he needs to do. He goes in and talks with Sabrina. Sabrina still wants to see Rock. And Maurice was like, look, don't you remember the plan? You were supposed to be a hoe, da-da-da-da. And you're not supposed to get attached. You're supposed to F him and move the F on. But she's like, I don't really know what I want to do. Do I want to do this mother thing or do this whole thing? Da, 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 da. So she's stuck between trying to have her original plan or just be F it to the world and I'm going to do me type of situation. You done spent a lot of money, ma'am. And now you want to talk about doing the... Whatever. They talk a little bit about the Dylan and the mood board. And Maurice has already talked about what Paige... He's told Sabrina, like, Paige is going to have to get used to it. I'm going to be her brother-in-law. Maurice is quite smitten. Sabrina says that he's in love. I don't think he's in love yet. You can't be. It's just someone has sparked something different in him, and it's just it's overcoming him. I wouldn't put love on him. Anyway, Sabrina gets the message that there's a sisters meeting and all that. Karen has called it, and then she's going to go over to that. Back at the office, Fatima runs into Andy's mom, and Andy's mom starts to be trifling and crazy and trying to say, oh, you need to be doing all this for Andy or you're going to be fired. And Fatima's like, excuse me? Then she's like, okay, well, what about this relationship with Dr. Vaughn? Like, oh, the doctor that saved Karen? Because the mama did say that Karen's like another daughter to her. Blah, 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 blah. She thanked Dr. Vaughn back then, back when they had to sing together. And Fatima played it off. And was like, I don't really know nothing, da 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 da. I'm always holding Andy down, da 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 da. So Fatima had enough, and she was ready to excuse herself. Fatima calls Zach in regards to what's going on with this mammy. Yeah, Zach was like, that's not Andy's style, but that's trifling. She's actually now going through someone else just to try to send a message to you. Da 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 da. And Fatima was like, as much as I hold her down and all that, she could tell me the truth. Da 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 da. I wonder what the change in the attitude is. And then Zach said, oh, and Fatima was like, what? Well, the night of the blackout, I ended up seeing Andy naked. And Fatima got like, what the, you mean? You've seen her naked? Yeah, it happened that night. It wasn't totally innocent. We didn't mean anything. We were going, how come you didn't tell me? Well, there was a lot of things going on and it wasn't a good time to ever really talk about it. Da, 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 da. But we were going to tell you. Blah, 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 blah. And she said, I don't like y'all keeping stuff from me. That wasn't like that. She said, whatever. I'm going to go see Andy. And then Zach gets off the phone and says, oh, she's about to kill Andy. So the sisters meet. Karen finally got on some clothes, a good wig, and all that stuff. Fatima comes in, and she's hot, and she wants to speak to Andy. Andy thinks that we can wait. And she said, no, it can't wait. So I think we're going to see the confrontation on next week. But anyways, kind of a good episode. I know that they're picking up for their next arc. I think I'm jumbling stuff around, but I did see a scene where Fatima was in the parking lot, and she pulls out her gun because she feels like she's being followed. So I'm jumbling up scenes, and I do apologize in regards to that. But tell me what you thought of this episode. You think this whole Andy and Fatima's relationship is going to survive? Can Fatima really be a part of the sisters? Because it's always going to be conflicting, unless Fatima just breaks away from Andy altogether and just be her friend, and she go do something else for someone else. Y'all let me know how you feel. How you feel about Tony? Again, I was supporting him, but I don't know how much I can root for him. But let me know. I appreciate everyone for coming. Like this video, subscribe, share. Until the next one, peace.